Brian, we released a statement recently. There's been several positive COVID-19 test results. Just your reaction to that?
Obviously, the first thing I think we need to consider is all those staff and players who have tested positive for COVID. The current strain has wiped right through our staff. It's obviously far more easily transmissible than it was in the previous strain from what we're getting. And I think the more medical people you speak to, the more advice you're getting that, it's such a difficult thing to control, this new strain. Obviously, when we got the news at the beginning of the week, following us doing the mandated testing, I think everybody knew that we had, some COVIDs with the Crew game going off last week. But the results coming back on Tuesday were quite astronomical, if I'm honest. I think we were all really concerned. The good thing is most of those affected, aren't showing too many symptoms, but obviously some are showing symptoms. And our focus now is on duty of care to make sure that everybody's getting looked after. Everybody's in isolation just now. We contacted Shropshire Public Health, who have been great with us, really supportive as well, doing the right thing. We said we wanted to close the training ground for 10 days, so they supported us with that and felt it was like everything that we'd done was the right moves. It's just a really difficult situation to manage just now. I think it's thrown us all the numbers involved, which we don't want to give exact numbers. There's been stories muted about the numbers, but we don't want to actually go into it because I don't think it's very fair on the individuals involved, and I don't think it's fair on the clubs to actually stipulate the numbers. But all I would say is that it's a good number for us to have contacted the FA to understand the issues that we're facing just now as a football club.
And the consequence of that, of course, is our game against Southampton is now not happening on the weekend. Is something a reschedule something you're interested in, or do you think that's that?
No, what we've been told at the moment is that the Professional Game Board, we obviously have put a lot of information to the FA over the last 48 hours since we got the test results and flagged this up to the FA and the EFL and obviously Shropshire Public Health as well. The first step was the Professional Game Board had to meet to make a decision on this. So although we put a couple of statements out explaining where we were at the time, it was very difficult because we weren't really allowed to say too much because of it was going to the Professional Game Board. But they've met this morning and decided that the game will go off. The second stage in that is they then have jurisdiction over what happens, whether the game is rescheduled or whether we need to forfeit it. Obviously we're all disappointed that the game is off first and foremost, but I think in times like this is where health comes before everything else. And we've said this throughout the COVID situation, that the health and well-being of our football players and staff at the club, and all staff at the club, is more important than getting a TV fee for an FA Cup match, albeit it would have been lovely to get that financed during a period when we've not had any income for almost a year.
And I think one positive to come out of this week is the EFL and the PFA have announced weekly testing, so that's a welcome addition. Yeah,
I think the worry we've all had, because it's only if you were showing symptoms that we were testing players and staff, to have that financial backing from the PFA is fantastic. Perhaps in hindsight it might have been great if we'd had that earlier in the season rather than now, but I do believe this new strain requires this. I think you look at the teams that we've played in the last few weeks who have then gone down with COVIDs, whether it's immediately after the game or in the days afterwards and games have been cancelled. And there is no doubt, this new strain is so much more transmissible than the previous one. And I think any kind of assistance in trying to minimise the further spread amongst whether it's our players or other players, and I think we have to look at that sometimes as well, because my personal view is that we probably got it from somewhere else from playing matches, and then it just seems to have a knock-on effect that then we play a match and we potentially pass it on to somebody else. So the testing hopefully will, the regular testing twice a week should hopefully minimise that. We just hope that, having had such a big number now, that perhaps we can hopefully pass the worst of it and get it all over at one time. But our main focus at the moment is making sure that all the players and staff recover fully from this dreadful disease. We're delivering food parcels round every single person in isolation just now, because a lot of the guys are on their own, and it's important that we look after them, giving them water and food, because obviously everybody's now, we're all in self-isolation just now.